Once upon a time in a faraway land, there was a big, bright, beautiful moon. She loved watching over the world below and shining her light on all the tiny little creatures. But most of all, she loved looking up at the night sky filled with twinkling stars and dreaming of distant galaxies. Every night before the sun would rise, the moon would peek over the horizon, stretch out her arms and yawn a giant yawn. Then she'd settle down in the sky and begin to tell stories. The moon had a lovely singing voice, and as she spoke, the stars would listen, hanging on every word. One night, as the moon gazed at the sparkling cosmos, she noticed a little star in the corner of her eye. He wasn't twinkling like the others. In fact, he looked kind of droopy. "Oh, my," thought the moon. "That poor little star is crying. I wonder what's wrong." The moon had a big heart and couldn't bear to see the little star so sad. So she stopped her story and asked, "Little star, why the long face? What's making you cry?" "I don't know," sniffled the little star. "I'm just so tired of listening to the same old stories every night. I wish something exciting would happen." The moon felt bad. She didn't mean to upset him. "Well," she said, "how about this? You can be the star of the story tonight. Just stay awake and listen for your name." "Really?" asked the little star, his eyes widening. "Oh, I'd like that very much." And with that, he promised to stay awake. So the moon began her story. "Once upon a time," she started, and the little star listened intently, waiting to hear his own name. But as the moon continued on, the little star began to feel his eyelids growing heavy. He tried his best to stay awake, but it was no use. "I'm sorry," he whispered, and he closed his eyes. The moon carried on with the story, and one by one, the other stars began to fade away. They'd been listening to the moon's bedtime tales for centuries, and they were all tucked away in their beds of stardust, dreaming of shooting stars and lunar landscapes. When the moon finished her story, she looked around at the sleeping stars and smiled. It was just the little star and her up in the sky. "Don't worry," she said kindly. "You can go to sleep now. It's all right to close your eyes when I sing. In fact, that's what all my little star friends do." The little star opened his eyes wide. "Really? You mean they fall asleep listening to your stories?" "Of course," chuckled the moon. "They love hearing my stories about the world below, or the adventures of Comet the Curious, or Sir Galahad the Brave, or my personal favorite, Little Red Riding Star." The little star beamed. Being the star of the show wasn't as fun as he'd imagined. He yawned and snuggled up in his bed of stardust. As the moon began to sing, the little star closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep. The moon sang all the stories she knew, and by the end, the whole sky was filled with sleeping stars. When she was done, the moon peeked over the horizon once more. The sun was beginning to rise, painting the clouds with hues of pink and orange. As the first rays of sunlight touched her face, the moon whispered, "Time for bed, little star. We'll do it all again tomorrow night." And with that, the moon slipped behind the clouds, leaving the sleeping stars to dream of distant galaxies and the wonderful stories that took place in them.